The rape crisis in Botswana demands urgent attention, with recorded cases arising from an annual average of about 1,950 between 2009 and 2018 to peaks above 2,400 in 2021. Defilement now makes up roughly 45% of sexual offences and surged after the age of consent was raised to 18 years. Most victims are young women and girls, while the perpetrators are overwhelmingly men. Despite the amendment of Botswana's penal code in 2023 to increase penalties against sexual offences, including courts dedicated to dealing with such cases, and the establishment of a Sex Offenders Registry, lengthy forensic backlogs and weak conviction rates continue to deny the victims justice. A 50-year-old Palape woman, 𝐒𝐅𝐅𝐄𝐉𝐃, not her real name, is aggrieved that her husband, who was convicted and sentenced to 2 years in prison for sexually molesting her teenage daughter in 2023, got a lenient sentence. She now wants a review of the case and a harsher sentence imposed.
She was a minor by then. Husband de amodira seemo sene seo gona ga ba ga supagala gape bosupi jone bo tatsa jo mo go bone the other two sisters mo go supanyana gore yano nne go supa gore ke molato o motona o ileng ha makasrata supa ba supa gore kana mme molato wa indecent assault ka tholo ya teng o na supa gore ke ngwaga tse di gore di ka nna supa kana go ya kotase.
𝐒𝐅𝐅𝐄𝐅𝐿 says she and her daughters are now fearing for their lives after the man was released from prison recently and is now serving extramural activity. She also indicated that the perpetrator is in possession of a firearm, something that has raised her fears that he may be planning to do something horrific with the gun.
Maikutlo a rona ke a heretsegileng, ke a thakathakakaneng, mme ebile a tisitse letshogo le poiho mo matshelong a rona ka re go tsweng ga gagwe yana ga go ise go nne le kana tekodiso go tswa go bone ba ga ke itse ra ene e tshwanwa ke gore e tswe go ba neng ba tshwere yone kgetsi gore ha tekodiso gore kana go na le kopo e tsentsweng ke rraetsho gore o kopa gore a tswe ka mabaka a he ga ke itse kana ne re tshwanwa ke go le kodiso ke bone ba dikgolegelo gore go diregile yang ga ke itse ka gore nna gore ke utwe gore o dule gore ne ke sa tlhalosetse gore o dule ke ne ke tlhalosetse gore ra mogolla o tsentse kopo mme ke ne ka supa go tshwenyega mo go heteletseng ka ba ka itsise le bone ba dikgolegelo ka ke ne ke letswe ke ba dikgolegelo ba social worker ba mpolela gore ba mogolola ka ba botsa dipotso di le mmalwa tota se sentse ke tshogela tshireletsego ya rona ka gore ke ne ke soletse gore gongwe mo tsamaong re ka be irile gongwe kana hale ka kwa a santsa tshegeditswe ka kwa le rona ra bona go tamelwa ka gone go sidiwa maikutlo dingwe tsa dithoto tse e leng gore mona kwa gompieno ga ke supa ka letshogo thata ke supa yalo ka kganya thobolo e leng gore e ne e le mo ntung ene monna wa me a romile mongwe a ta go tsa thobolo e le mo ntung ya be gore a re e nyella e nna ko e hella le ko diateng tsa bone ko mme nkile ka supa yalo ka ya ko mapodising ke supa gone go thoka go sireletsega le gone go thoka go nna sente mo jarateng ke na le letshogo la gone gore thobolo e ka nna ya ta dirisiwa mo lapeng go rona e nna sengwe se se re tsenyang matshelo a rona mo diphatseng jaaka gone gore gapela matshelo yalo ka thobolo ya go nna jalo mme se sa ska sa dira sepe sa dira pharologanyo mo nakong eo e ke neng ke isa boikuelo ko mapodising.
Recently disgraced Pastor 𝐒𝐁𝐋𝐈𝐒 was convicted of rape in Mochudi and is facing more counts of sexual assault in 𝐒𝐅𝐅𝐄𝐅𝐿. Another suspect, 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿 Loeto, was slapped with several rape charges and is facing allegations that he raped more than 15 women and girls in Ramotswa. These cases have further raised concern in the society that some of the perpetrators are repeat offenders. Some concerned citizens are calling for stiffer penalties, with some suggesting life imprisonment to ensure the safety of vulnerable groups such as women and children.
Especially bone the rapist, kana ba bua ka motho ile gore ha siamela setšhaba. Ke tsa ke re nna go ka nna hela ba tshwanetse gore ha ile gore ba na le tshono gore ba le go dikgolegelong ha motho a setsa boelela a isiwe gongwe life imprisonment ka gore motho o ntse a lo ba le diphatsa mo bathong ba se siamela gore o ka nna out there in the society.
Ona go ba batho mo toronkong na go nga government ke go i-costa wa bona gape go bola motho is not a good thing. Ba ma hatsa mangwe mo gata ba re ka dirwe tsa batho. I was thinking ela gore government ela motho a sa la pitse government a mo rekise madi a tla boelela hatse. Ke ra ka kanya ya me le gale madi a bo a tsena mo letlole la government wa le gore government a tse madi a bo a mme mo toronkong a motle.
The Sexual Offenders Registry Act was enacted in 2021, aiming to create a centralized database of individuals convicted of sexual offenses. An ideal register will capture every detail of the offender, including their full names, nicknames, as well as their identity number, passport number, or driver's license number. However, as of now, the registry has not been fully operational, with significant progress yet to be made. Activists say without a registry, the effectiveness of tracking and monitoring offenders is diminished, potentially leading to a higher risk of reoffending. Activist Seto Mungatani says the implementation of the law is long overdue.
We have had a case in Mahalapi of a boarding master that was molesting children. But when you look at the trajectory of this man being moved from one school to the other and being hired repeatedly, he's not the only one. There are a number of people that have been hired by different institutions, even including government institutions, because there is no registry that says people who are around vulnerable people can be vetted even through the Sex Offenders Registry. Another thing that the lack of implementation of the Sex Offenders Registry is affecting is we are seeing a lot of reoffense when it comes to rape, when it comes to femicide. Even us as activists, we are infiltrated by perpetrators where we try to create safe spaces because we don't know who's a perpetrator. We don't know who's been convicted by law. We've had instances where perpetrators have infiltrated our safe spaces where we hold victims, where we counsel victims, where we try to advance the rights of victims. So it's very overdue.
Mona Lisa Mangure, founder and director of Molao Matters, says there's lack of political will to implement laws and policies. She adds that even international treaties and conventions that the government has signed are not domesticated.
Generally, Botswana seems to be slow to adapt to legal reform and legal reform that requires urgency. I will speak to our history with international law. For example, the Maputo Protocol. It took us 20 years to finally ratify it. So this was done in 2003 to 2023 after it came into being in 2003. So that's 20 years later, one of the last few countries to ratify. And the Maputo Protocol also speaks to how we protect survivors or how we protect the community from GBV beyond redress. Again, when we see issues of the Bail Act that has recently been amended, it has taken a very long time for such amendments to even come into play. So I think the government really needs to account to the community on why it drags its feet in protecting women and children. We are also seeing that there is absolutely no or very little political will in ensuring that GBV is considered a state of emergency and it is dealt with under under a state of national emergency, where we will then see urgent plans coming into play.
Speaking in Parliament recently, the Assistant Minister for State President 𝐒𝐅𝐅𝐄𝐍𝐃 Muputeng said the institutional and administrative mechanisms required to bring the register into effect remain pending.
It is worth noting that whilst the register has been established, it will be open to the public. The institutional and administrative mechanisms required to bring the register into effect still remain pending. However, consideration to operationalize it is currently being evaluated with significant resource implications including establishment of Sexual Offenders Intersectoral Council with Secretariat. Madam Speaker, establishment of the register involves multiple key stakeholders, including the Botswana Police Service, Botswana Prison Service, Department of Justice, Immigration Services, and other relevant agencies. The technical, administrative, and security considerations required for an integrated and reliable national system necessitate careful coordination among these stakeholders before full implementation can take place. Madam Speaker, I'm aware that the National Register for Sex Offenders is of course necessary, and it can serve as an important tool in providing statistical information that may support evidence-based policy making and socio-economic planning. Madam Speaker, I'm also aware that the register can deter sexual offences by strengthening accountability frameworks and aligning Botswana with international standards and foreign jurisdictions that maintain similar registries as part of broader efforts to address and prevent sex crimes.
But Mona Lisa Mangure complains that as government moves to implement the registry, stakeholders such as the civil society groups and other frontline workers are not being consulted.
For 4 years, when we have been advocating for it to come into being, we have not been informed on what steps are being taken, what are the measures that are being taken, what are the concerns. Because when you know this, you're also able to be part of the table in providing solutions and looking at a way forward. But if it's going to be the case of we are not ready for 4 years, it's definitely something that takes us aback.
Until the registry is fully operational, many survivors of sexual offences will continue to be traumatized, and some live in fear as the perpetrators may again pounce on them. Tsimane, YTV News, Gaborone.